Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to tackle something might surprise you a little bit.
Oh,
It's the history and the lasting impact of women in wrestling.
really?
Yeah. Get ready for some inspiring stories because we're about to uncover some and seriously challenge some assumptions we might have about women in this world.
You know what's so fascinating about this topic? It's how it really brings together athleticism and social change.
Yeah.
We're not just going to be talking about like wrestling moves and stuff like that.
Right.
We're going to go deep into how women have really had to fight for recognition in this space and change what it means to be strong and powerful.
It's amazing when you think about the impact, right? The trailblazers throughout history
Yeah.
who have really paved the way for the superstars that we see today.
Yeah, and our sources are taking us way back further than I imagined.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like way back.
Yeah.
We think of people like Ronda Rousey as,
Yeah.
as trailblazers, but the roots of women in combat sports go so much deeper. Like our sources show that there were actually gladiatresses in ancient Rome.
Wait, gladiatrices?
Yeah.
Like in the Colosseum?
Yes.
Wow. I always pictured, women in ancient Rome in those more traditional roles.
All right, it's pretty amazing.
So were they common? Were there a lot of gladiatrices?
So they weren't as common as the men, obviously.
Right.
They were more of a novelty act back then.
Okay.
But just their presence, changes how we think about women in ancient society.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah.
It makes you think that there was a certain level of acceptance, even if it was just for entertainment.
Right?
But were there other examples of women warriors in those times?
Absolutely. Our sources talk about the Anabugeisha of Japan.
Anabugeisha.
Yeah, they were like women warriors trained in martial arts. Sometimes they even joined battles.
Wow, alongside men.
Yeah.
Anabugeisha. That's a powerful image.
Yeah.
It really changes the narrative we hear about women in, feudal Japan. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit more about their training and their role?
So they were highly skilled.
Okay.
They would train in swordsmanship,
Wow.
archery, hand-to-hand combat. They
Yeah.
were expected to defend their homes, their families.
Yeah.
And sometimes they were even in large-scale battles.
Right.
So imagine the courage and the skill it took to face armed opponents
Yeah.
while defying what society expected of them.
It makes you realize the strength and determination they had to have had.
Yeah.
So what happened in the centuries that followed? Did this spirit of the women warrior continue, or was it lost?
Well, it wasn't always straightforward. When you think about the 19th and 20th centuries, we see how women in wrestling were perceived and presented.
Good.
Changes, instead of them being celebrated as warriors, they were often pushed into sideshows and traveling carnivals.
Really? So instead of gladiatorial arenas or battlefields, they were in these traveling shows.
Yeah.
It sounds like a step back in terms of, recognition and respect.
Yeah, imagine these strong athletes
Right?
having to perform alongside other unusual acts.
Yeah.
They were more curious than serious competitors.
Wow.
They were so strong and athletic, but no one was taking them seriously.
Yeah.
Especially not like their male counterparts.
Right.
It was a time when society didn't give women many opportunities,
Yeah.
especially in athletics.
So they were always there.
Yeah.
These powerful women, but they were just kind of pushed to the side.
Exactly.
But something must happen to change that.
Right.
What were those turning points that got us to where we are today?
Well, in mid-20th century, we see modern professional wrestling starting up,
Okay.
and figures like Mildred Burke
Okay.
really paved the way.
Mildred Burke, I'm not familiar.
So Mildred Burke was this powerful force in women's wrestling.
Okay.
She held the Women's World Championship for almost 20 years.
Wow.
She was known for how skilled she was
Wow.
and just her determination.
Yeah.
She even wrestled some men. Yeah, she broke down barriers and really helped make women's wrestling legitimate in the public eye.
Wow. It's amazing how one person can make such a difference.
Yeah.
Did this whole shift to modern professional wrestling happen globally, or was it just in the U.S.?
It was happening in multiple places.
Wow.
While Mildred Burke was doing her thing in the U.S.,
Right.
there was this different style of women's wrestling developing in Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What was that called?
It's called Joshi Puroresu.
Yoshipura Resu. Okay.
Yeah.
What makes that style different?
It's so fast-paced and hard-hitting.
Wow.
It's not just strength. You need
Yeah.
precision and technique.
Okay.
Think high-flying maneuvers, intricate submissions.
Wow.
It's the most athletic form of wrestling in the world.
It sounds like a perfect blend of, athleticism and art.
Yeah.
Who are some of the standouts in Joshi Puroresu that we should know?
Stars like Chigusa Nagayo and Manami Toyota,
Yeah.
they really took Joshi Puroresu to a whole new level. They were icons known for their rivalries, their dramatic storylines, and their dedication.
It's inspiring. These women from different cultures, different continents, pushing the boundaries of wrestling.
Right.
It feels like a global movement was forming.
You got it.
And, now, today, things are so different.
Oh, yeah.
I got to say, I'm pumped for this one.
Yeah.
This is going to be exciting, I think.
Definitely.
You don't often see a mother dominating the brutal world of MMA, but
yeah, definitely not common.
But that's Lucie's story.
It's an interesting one for sure.
Yeah.
Like defying expectations.
Yeah.
Immediately what caught my eye was her background in gymnastics and athletics.
Oh yeah, I was just going to ask you about that.
It's not something you see every day in a top-level MMA fighter,
yeah.
right?
It's not your typical path to MMA.
Right.
Yeah, I was thinking she probably got her start in judo or karate, like the classic, origin story.
Right, right.
So how does that early training, actually translate into the octagon?
Well, think about the demands of gymnastics.
Yeah.
Like explosive power, flexibility, incredible body awareness. And all of those things, those are assets in MMA.
Interesting.
It's like she built this foundation of just elite athleticism.
Right.
And then adapted that to striking and grappling.
So it's not just about being strong, it's about control and precision.
Exactly.
Okay.
Some of the sources mention her almost supernatural balance.
Really?
Probably a direct result of all that gymnastics training.
Wow.
And that balance translates to her takedown defense, too.
Right.
Her ability to stay upright even when opponents try to, wrestle her down.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got this foundation in athleticism. Then she transitions to MMA, but what drew her to such an intense sport?
Well, from what I've gathered, she just thrives on challenge.
Really?
She wasn't content to just stay in one lane.
Interesting.
Even if she excelled at it.
Right.
MMA is a test of physical and mental limits.
For sure.
And it seems like that's what really attracted her.
Makes sense.
And then there's just that, there's a rawness to it.
Yeah.
Like a primal element you just don't find in other sports.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
And that's where this whole silent killer persona comes into play.
Absolutely.
You've got this contrast between her quiet demeanor outside of the cage and then her explosive fighting style when she's in there.
Yeah, it's like a Jekyll and Hyde transformation.
It really is.
The sources describe her as so calm and composed during interviews.
Yeah.
Almost shy. But then that cage door shuts. It's like a switch flips. She becomes this relentless force.
Interesting.
Known for ending fights quickly and decisively.
Yeah, speaking of ending fights quickly, let's talk about that first round TKO against Valerie Dommerg.
Oh, yeah.
At Octagon 22.
Octagon 22.
I mean, brutal efficiency.
For sure.
The sources mention her silent but deadly style. What specific striking techniques allow her to end fights so quickly?
Well, she's not a wild brawler.
Okay.
That's for sure.
All right.
It's about precision and timing. She uses a lot of feints and counterstrikes.
Interesting.
To draw her opponents in and capitalize on their mistakes.
Smart.
Her jab is particularly sharp.
Okay.
And she often follows it up with these just devastating combinations.
So it's not just power, then it's like setting traps and exploiting openings.
Exactly.
Which makes her even more dangerous because you just never know when that explosion is coming.
Exactly. And that win against Dommerg, that was significant.
How so?
It put her on the map in Octagon MMA.
And
it's a major promotion in Central Europe.
Okay.
Like their version of the UFC.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And it's not just Dommerg, right?
No, not at all.
She's faced some tough competition.
Absolutely.
The sources mentioned Christina Stanciu, who actually has UFC experience.
Right. And Stanciu is known for her aggressive pressure fighting style.
Oh, wow.
So that was a real test for Lucie.
Okay.
To see, could she maintain that silent approach against someone who was just constantly coming forward?
Right. And I'm guessing, based on the notes here, that she passed with flying colors.
Oh, yeah, she did.
Okay, good.
Definitely.
But instead of just listing off wins,
sure,
I'm curious about the diversity of her opponents.
Okay.
Did she fight any grapplers?
Yes.
Anyone who tried to take her down and test her ground game?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It really highlights another aspect of her evolution as a fighter.
Okay. I like it.
Cornelia Holm, a Swedish fighter, she defeated.
Okay.
Primarily a grappler.
Okay, so this was Lucie's chance to show that she wasn't just a striker.
Exactly.
She could handle herself on the ground. And how'd she do?
Well, she did great.
Oh, good.
She actually surprised a lot of people
Really?
by controlling Holm on the mat and even threatening with submissions of her own.
Wow. Okay, so she's got some ground game.
Oh, yeah.
So this fight showed that she wasn't just well-rounded.
Right.
She was dangerous wherever the fight went.
Exactly.
So she can handle herself on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
She's got the striking,
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
this mental fortitude that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
It's a pretty dangerous combination.
For sure.
But, the sources also mentioned Michaela Dostalova.
Yeah.
What was special about that matchup?
Well, Dostalova represents a different kind of challenge for Lucie.
Okay.
It's like a test of her adaptability, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Their fight took place at Octagon Underground.
Oh, yeah. Octagon Underground.
Yeah, which has a different rule set than like traditional MMA.
So it's like the more raw, stripped-down version of the sport.
It's exact.
With more emphasis on the striking and less on grappling.
Right. They use smaller gloves.
Really?
Yeah. So the punches, they hit much harder.
Wow.
And there are fewer rounds, so the pace is a lot faster.
Oh, wow.
It's designed to reward fighters who are like aggressive and who can think on their feet.
So it's not just about technical skill at that point. It's about like grit and instinct.
Pretty much.
That sounds like a perfect stage for the silent killer, though,
Yeah.
to showcase her striking,
Oh, absolutely. And that's exactly what she did.
Okay, good.
Against Dostalova, she was just like a surgeon with her strikes,
Wow.
picking her apart and ultimately securing a TKO victory.
Nice.
This fight really solidified her reputation as someone who could thrive in any environment, with
Right.
any rule set.
I mean, and all of this while being a mother,
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
which is just mind-blowing to me.
It really is.
We've already talked about her physical and mental toughness, but to juggle a demanding fighting career with like the responsibilities of motherhood,
Right.
it's a whole other level of strength.
I think it's a testament to her dedication and her ability to compartmentalize.
Right.
The sources talk about how she sometimes brings her child to training.
Oh, wow.
And it's clear that she's found a way to integrate these two passions.
That's great.
She's not sacrificing one for the other. She's embracing both fully.
And that's such a powerful message, too.
It
And
is.
especially for women who might feel pressured to choose between career and family.
Right.
Lucie's story is proof that you can have it all.
Absolutely.
But it takes incredible work ethic and sacrifice.
Definitely.
And it's not just about personal achievement either, right?
No.
Lucie is actively involved in promoting combat sports in Slovakia.
Yes, specifically encouraging young women to get involved.
So she's not just winning fights and inspiring mothers.
Right.
She's also using her platform to give back to the community.
Absolutely.
What does that look like specifically? Is she coaching, running seminars, that kind of thing?
All of the above, yeah.
Wow.
She organizes training sessions, she mentors aspiring fighters,
Okay.
and she even participates in charity events
Thanks.
to help raise awareness about combat sports
Yes.
and the benefits they offer,
Yeah.
especially for women.
It's great that she's doing all that.
Yeah, she's breaking down barriers and creating opportunities for the next generation.
It really speaks to her character.
Yeah,
She's not just a fighter. She's a leader.
a role model.
Exactly. And her impact goes way beyond just wins and losses.
Right.
It's about changing the entire landscape of the sport.
Absolutely.
You know what's fascinating about all this?
What's that?
She's doing all of this without being like this loud, outspoken personality.
Right.
She's not constantly on social media or trash-talking opponents.
Yeah,
She really lets her actions speak for themselves.
she does.
And that quiet confidence,
Mhm.
it's part of what makes her so compelling.
Definitely.
It's like that whole silent killer nickname.
Yeah.
It extends beyond her fighting style. She's quietly making a huge impact on the world around her.
Absolutely.
But before we go too far down that road,
Sure.
I want to circle back to her fighting style for a second.
Okay.
We've talked about the striking, we've talked about the grappling,
Right.
but what really sets her apart?
Yeah.
What makes her unique as a fighter?
Well, one thing that stands out to me
Yeah.
is her ability to blend striking and grappling seamlessly. She doesn't just switch between the two.
Right.
She integrates them in a way that keeps her opponents guessing.
Interesting.
Like she'll use her striking to set up takedowns.
Oh, okay.
Or she'll use her grappling to create openings for strikes.
So it's not just about being proficient in both areas.
Right.
It's about the transitions.
Yeah.
The way she flows between them.
Exactly like a dance, but a very dangerous one.
A very dangerous dance.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
And what else?
Well, another thing that makes her special is her fight IQ.
Okay.
She's incredibly strategic,
Right.
always thinking a few steps ahead.
Mark.
She's not just reacting.
Yeah.
She's dictating the pace.
Okay.
And controlling the fight.
And that composure, that ability to stay calm under pressure.
Oh, yeah.
That's like a superpower in MMA.
Absolutely.
It allows her to make smart decisions even when the adrenaline is pumping.
Right. It's like her mind is as sharp as her strikes.
Interesting.
She doesn't get rattled.
Yeah.
Doesn't panic.
Right.
Stays focused on the task at hand and executes her game plan.
Okay, so we've got this unique blend of striking grappling and strategic thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear why she's such a dominant force in the cage.
For sure.
But what about her losses?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Every fighter has setbacks.
Right.
So I'm curious how she handles defeat.
Well, the sources mention that she's very analytical about her losses.
Oh, okay.
She doesn't dwell on them.
Right.
But she uses them as opportunities to learn and grow.
Okay.
She studies the footage, identifies her mistakes,
Right.
and works tirelessly to improve.
So it's that constant pursuit of self-improvement
Yeah,
that really sets her apart.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's that growth mindset, that willingness to learn from setbacks.
Yeah.
That really resonates with me.
It's a good lesson.
It's something we can all apply to our own lives, right?
For sure.
Whether we're stepping into a cage or just facing challenges in our daily routines.
Absolutely. Lucie's story, it's about so much more than just winning fights.
Right.
It's about resilience, determination, and this relentless pursuit of excellence.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that we all have the potential to achieve great things
I agree.
if we're willing to put in the work and just never give up on our dreams.
And what's really amazing is that she's doing all of this
Yeah.
while staying true to herself,
Yeah.
Yeah,
she's not trying to fit into any mold or conform to expectations.
Right.
She's forging her own path
Yeah.
on her own terms.
And that quiet confidence, that authenticity,
Yeah.
it's part of what makes her so inspiring.
Definitely.
She's not out there seeking attention or validation.
Right.
She's just focused on being the best version of herself,
Absolutely.
both as a fighter and as a person.
As a human being.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And that's a really powerful message,
it is.
especially in today's world where there's just so much pressure to be loud and to constantly promote yourself.
Oh, yeah, it's everywhere.
It is. And Lucie's story is a reminder that it's okay to be quiet, to let your actions speak for themselves.
It's a reminder that true strength comes from within,
Right.
from knowing who you are and what you stand for. And that's something that transcends the world of sports.
For sure.
It's something we can all aspire to.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Lucie, silent killer, Szabová, what's the one thing you want our listener to take away from her story?
I think the biggest takeaway is that limitations are often self-imposed.
Okay.
Lucie could have easily said, I'm a mother now, I can't compete at the highest level of MMA.
Yeah.
But she didn't.
Right.
She defied those expectations and proved that with hard work, dedication, and a belief in yourself, anything is possible.
It's a reminder that we all have the power to choose our own path, to break down barriers,
Yeah.
and to achieve things that others might think are impossible.
For sure.
And Lucie's story is a testament to the fact that sometimes the quietest voices can make the biggest impact. Well said. And to our listener, if you want to see this silent killer in action,
Yeah.
I highly recommend checking out some of her fights online.
Definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, you'll be amazed by her skill, her athleticism, and her sheer determination.
It's really a captivating spectacle.
It is. And you might even find yourself inspired to push your own boundaries,
Yeah.
to step outside of your comfort zone,
Absolutely.
and to chase your own dreams with that same quiet intensity that Lucie brings to everything she does.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring
Keep learning.
and keep striving to be the best version of yourself.
Couldn't agree more.